A new day, a deeper dive. As the Sami Sabinsa group presents the Hindu Huddle, India in Dialogue returns, Day 2 picks up the momentum, not with answers, but sharper questions. From reimagining India's federalism to subcontinental geopolitics, from the future of work, cinema's cultural chasms, to public health. This is where India thinks out loud, boldly, urgently, and together.
The Constitution of India establishes a structure of the Indian government, including the relationship between the federal and the state government. Where are we in terms of India's federalism? Where should we ideally need to be or should be? Some thoughts that could translate into words over the course of the next stellar panel.
Let me begin by the question that's been in the news very much in recent months, delimitation. So while we're all aware that delimitation comes with the possible risks to the representational power of certain states in parliament, is there an alternative to looking at changes in demographics? Can we add other aspects to the formulas? What are they? What would you propose? And how could this be worked out? We can start with you, Mr. Rajan.
Well, I think there are many possibilities, right? Anybody who's thoughtful and can do basic math, there's many ways we can do this. I might be exceeding my brief if I go too far, but I'll just mention 2 points. One, the Joint Action Committee that has been brought together under my Chief Minister's leadership and coordination has clearly recommended that the right action would be a freeze for another 30 years, I think, of the delimitation. So having made an official position, I don't want to exceed that. I just want to point out, though, that this notion of how representation should be decided, this government itself in Delhi, this union government, has already implemented the extreme opposite view. You know, if you go back to the theory that equal weightage of every citizen's vote is the basis for doing delimitation and reassigning seats. That's the basis, right? That's the logic. If that's the logic, then there could be nobody further away from that in their actual history of action than this government of India, because in the GST Council, we have a voting system that is one state, one vote. That is to say, 200 and odd million people of Uttar Pradesh get one vote, 500,000 or 1 million people of Arunachal Pradesh get one vote. That is to say, a state like Maharashtra that contributes, 15% of the GDP and probably 18% of taxes gets one vote, and a state like Mizoram that probably contributes 0.03% of the GDP gets one vote. So if equitable representation on some basis was such a profound principle for this government, they've already made a hash of it. So they're in no moral position to talk about equity as the basis for imminent delimitation.
Thank you. Sir, would you like to?
I also sharing some of the points expressed by my colleague here, but certain differences, that is, we are not in favor of freezing the total process. It should be changed because now 36 lakhs of people are represented by a single member of parliament, or 25 lakhs of people are represented by a single member of parliament. Then this constituency should be considered for a small constituencies. But this equitable distribution, equitable representation should be there. That is our position with regard to this. The thing is, earlier in 70s, it has been freezed because of the successful implementation of the people planning. And these southern states have successfully implemented that union government program. Now, this is a tool for penalizing these states which had successfully implemented union government program. This proportion should be, at least this proportion should be maintained while increasing the number of seats. That is our position with regard to this.
I think this raises a very interesting question of differences between the union government and states, growth-focused policies or growth-driving policies rather than redistributive policies or welfare policies. Could it be that this is, again, may need to a negotiated outcome between the need for social welfare and those? Or do you feel that this is just the union being, it has to fall in line with what states are doing because they are contributing the resources?
No, I think it is very clear in the Constitution that they're equal branches of government, right? the government of India does not get to dictate what the policy of the state should be. If so, why do we have state elections? Why do we have legislatures? Whatever they are elected to do, their mandate to do, they should do that. And whatever we are elected to do, it's our priority to do that. I would say, actually, even if you look at the southern states, the fact is we're all developed, but we're all not all of the same model. If you take a place like Tamil Nadu, you just have to do budget analysis. It's just math. It's not complicated. You take a place like Kerala, they do a lot more devolution. They do a lot more human capital investment, and they get outcomes related to that. And at least historically, as a percentage of GDP, industries and manufacturing and all hasn't been that good. You take Tamil Nadu, we have the kind of right mix, I would say, or a more neutral mix of development, welfare, societal outcomes, and industrial kind of policies. You take places like Karnataka, Telangana, it used to be, at least till recently, much more on the development side. So even here you have various, that's what we are elected to do, that's what the people give us the right to do. We are not saying there's one cookie cutter for all southern states or all parties. We are of different ideologies, we form governments and execute on our ideology. The point is that the government of India nowhere gets to tell us what our priorities should be or how we should act, because it's not in the constitution. They're only elected to do their job, not our job.
Mr. Rajiv, let me ask you, states such as Tamil Nadu and Kerala get a relatively smaller share of the tax revenue shared by New Delhi, whereas other states with a higher population receive a larger share of tax revenue, such as UP getting 18%, Bihar 10%. That leaves Tamil Nadu with 4.2%, Karnataka with 3.65%, Kerala with 1.96%. So is this a problem with the formula, or is this more about pork barrel politics? Is it about fighting for your share and just getting more from the center? Is it a negotiated outcome?
Actually, this is not a new thing. It is happening for several years. Kerala and Tamil Nadu, these states had implemented the union government policies. Education for all, that is a union government policy. Healthcare for all. We are implementing all these policies in a successful manner. And also we are, due to these policies, our life expectancy is almost same as the developed countries. Our higher education is demand more resources for enhancing the quality. Then we are facing actually second generation problems. Quantity to quality for education. Then quantity base, okay, we are in very good compared with the developed countries. But for quality, we need more resources. Then we are facing the problems of the senior citizens. Geriatrics is mandatory for our hospitals. These type of issues we demand for more resources. But we are penalizing by the union government for our successful implementation of their own policies. All states should be equally represented in the union government, and they should get equal share from the resources. This money is coming from the states, not from the union government. This is coming from the states. Then expenditure, the expenditure side, the states are taking more burden. He is more aware than me because he was a finance minister of Tamil Nadu. Actually, 65-67% of the expenditure is by the state governments. But their share is very less from this revenue side. Then it should be addressed in the proper manner.
There must be a limit to the number of people in Parliament. First, physical accommodation, say 800 something. And then time allotted to speakers. Parliament becomes meaningless if you get only 7 minutes, 5 minutes, etc. Lok Sabha, I mean. So what is that limit?
A physical thing, that is, Mr. Ram has mentioned a very valid question. The number of the days for functioning of the Parliament Assembly should have been increased, and fruitful utilization of that time. Now in Parliament, I think nothing has been done. Only one-man voice is there. Then it should be more distributed. Now itself, our time is limited. I was in the upper house. While we are mentioning the special mentions, concluding 3 minutes only, then all mics off just after the 3 minutes. It is there. It is allotted to the parties. The time is allotted to the parties. Parties allotted to the speakers. That is the thing. It should be there. That is a practical thing. Then the rules should be amended in accordance with the changes.
Just about time for us to head across to session number 2. The title of the session is In the Hood, the New Forces shaping subcontinental geopolitics?
So I wanted to start by asking you, as we stand here today, and I do want to come to Pakistan very much, where you think the biggest changes in the region have come from?
The biggest changes are taking place globally. How we fit ourselves into that is the issue. So my idea is whether we should not think aloud and think separately. No, we are seeing a great shift. We had a tripolar world at the end of the World War II. It became bipolar, US and Soviet Union. Then it became unipolar, Soviet Union. It's becoming bipolar again. Now, can it become tripolar by 2050? That's one of the issues. Then it won't be Europe. If it's tripolar, bipolar is going to be America and China. If it's tripolar, America, China, and India. So these I think, the issue and what's there for the region.
If I could at that point bring in Ambassador Tirumurthy, give us the overpowering reality, though.
Yeah.
Do you think this is possible?
India should take a geopolitical role which goes beyond the subcontinent. And it's extremely important that we do that. The sooner we do that, the more important it will be. Now, when you look at the subcontinent, the new forces which are shaping the subcontinent, let us look at that. Earlier we used to talk about a democracy deficit in the subcontinent. We used to have countries which had military rule and others, and which had also so-called elected dictatorships. But now in the last 15 years, actually democracy has taken root in a much firmer way than before. So I have a feeling that India opened up. We realized that it is important to integrate ourselves with the other economies with us, and it has been continued. And I have a feeling that if our economy is able to open up to the economies of our neighbors, then you become a net provider of prosperity to the region. And moment India becomes a net provider of prosperity to the region, you automatically can keep out China and the United States.
Today, our entire focus is on dealing with the problem with Pakistan. In a sense, it is also the biggest problem, hurdle to South Asian unity, if you like. India's problems with Pakistan and particularly with cross-border terrorism. What do you think really India should do?
India, Pakistan, this is a big issue. But remember, this is not the biggest issue. If you don't find employment and you have what happened in Bangladesh happening elsewhere, it can blow up in Pakistan anytime now. We are all going to be in this thing. What happened there, well, we have always condemned terrorism like what happened in Kashmir, but our one being Sri Lanka and others, we want to see this coming to a close because firstly, it's a question for the first time we are seeing a lot of AI, drones, others being used. It's not the normal clash that we have been. And something which I didn't think of yesterday, but yesterday night I was speaking to someone of my friends in US, and he told me something that's very alarming. American and other investors are wondering whether you should invest in India, which is prone to bombing by Pakistan. Now, those are things we don't think, none of us thought yesterday. But coming back, your attitude is, this is basically a dream. Can it be feasible? Mine is, how do we do it? Because are we going to grab back what we lost 2 centuries ago? I mean, when Europe talks of Chinese cheap goods coming in, I mean, they forget that you had cheap textiles here and they wiped it out to send their textiles under the Industrial Revolution. And when China had a balance of payments in favor of them, they sent opium. So, I mean, this is a game that's going on. If we don't lift ourselves up, how are you going to manage? China has lifted a part of its middle class up, it still has to go. That's the same thing India has, all our region.
Ambassador Tirumurthy, as somebody in the Ministry of External Affairs, you have dealt with the neighborhood's position. Is it possible to put those issues on the side, or will India just simply have to do as it has done for the last decade, put Pakistan to the side, deal with its other neighbors?
Security and geopolitics vis-a-vis economic growth and development, they are actually two sides of the same coin. You cannot talk one without the other. Especially a country like India, which is fifth largest, is going to go towards the fourth and third. It is unrealistic for us to even talk in terms of economic development without taking on a bigger geopolitical role and securing our neighborhood and being a net security provided for not just the neighborhood, but for a larger region and the region which he sketched out. We have to be the net security provider. So therefore, conflict with Pakistan or cross-border terror with Pakistan, these are all things which we need to factor into our economic growth. That is because that is the only way that you can grow bigger. If we think that by soft pedaling that we can grow bigger, it may not have. So therefore, it is integral to it. So let us factor in this, that there would be cross-border terror. We need to meet it resolutely. We have to establish deterrence, and that is a stepping stone for greater growth. So that's the way I look at it.
All right. Well, I'm going to stop here and take some questions from the audience. Mr. Narayanan, the former National Security Advisor, has had his hand up.
Creating a system different from where we are not dependent on the West or the East, etc. What is your vision?
The changing global order don't have a unipolar world, whoever it is. A bipolar world is better, tripolar world is even better. And there's a big gap coming in the Indian whole civilization, the whole world is the Indian Ocean. You look at history and tell me something else. It's us, the three largest. You have Hindus, Islam, Buddhism, you have Sanskrit, you have Arabic, you have Pali. Hasn't those influenced the world? And this is, what is China? China was big, but it was the Middle Kingdom. The Middle Kingdom has now covered with East Asia, all of that. Europe, the Western world has US, which is true. They are the ones who took them out of World War II. Then what do we do with our areas? So if you don't fill that gap up, then China will be the one, because US is saying, we are not coming whether you like it or not. You are doing it, but what I am saying is be there. We are not saying to scrap anything, but it's a tripolar world in which we are now claiming and getting in. And for that, we'd like to see India come up and take the lead. That's all I am saying.
So this rise of a new form of democracy in India, of one nation, one religion, one nation, one language, and one nation, one leader. What is this new democracy? I want your opinion on it.
India is trying to redefine itself. How we redefine ourselves is something which is for us. So this is something which we can endlessly debate on how we should redefine ourselves as a nation. So I don't think we have time, and the time is also up to define this. But let me just say that whatever may be the differences we may have on how we are looking at India and how we redefine it, I have zero doubt that democracy is taking firmer roots in the region. And this provides greater resilience to the foreign policy decisions which you will take. And I think that's very important.
A session which is around cinema. North and South, the big divide to growing chasm in Indian cinema. That's the subject of the conversation that we will have. Over to you.
The Anurag Kashyap I knew was this, breaker of rules, this filmmaker who wanted to, who had this library of 75,000 movies, and now the Anurag Kashyap that I'm seeing now is this actor in Southern films. What is this transformation that's happened?
How it started was by chance.
Okay.
And now it's actually much more interesting than trying to make a film. The risk-taking factor from cinema has kind of dropped down. And films don't seem challenging enough. Or you're not pushing your own boundaries, you're not doing anything. So what happens is that, at least, acting is what scares me. And a new language every time, a new culture every time, new set of people. So there's at least I feel like I'm doing something.
But what was that moment? I mean, like, why did it happen?
No, there's a lot of factors. The things like I think everything is cyclical in nature. There's a time period that when we came in and we wanted to make movies, cinema was also going through sea change. The studios were coming in, and studios had no access to big stars. Studios, the only way they could find to get into the play was work with filmmakers who were coming in. That's when we got the opportunities to make films. And all of us came forth with our own stories, from our own language, from our own, where we came from the cinema we came from literature we came from, or the culture we came from. And we made these films. And then again the studios found enough money, and the only way they could get to the big stars was with money. So they started escalating the costs of the film. The film costs escalated, then the promotion costs escalated. Now that was something that was not feasible for filmmakers like us. And we started becoming more independent, and we started working with, like if you really look at my filmography, most of my films are the first films of the new studio. So every studio that would come in, like their first films, probably I would work with them. And then they would move on to the bigger star films.
Right.
That is what was happening.
Around that time.
Around that time. And a lot of interesting filmmakers and people came in. And even though the films were banned or blocked by censors, there was a level playing field. Like, I could challenge their decision. There was various stages in CBFC. I could challenge them, and that's why I could fight the censors. I could go to the court. I could go to FCAT. Now that level playing field was there, but now it's not there. Now, you just get ghosted as a filmmaker. So for me, if my film is there, and I need to fight for my film to come out, I need to have in writing the objections. But if I don't get any objection in writing, so you're totally ghosted.
Okay.
You don't know where to go. You don't know what to do.
When did you get your first acting offer in Southern cinema?
Well, how I got into acting is a very different story. I used to do a lot of theatre, and I had done movies very early in my career, and I realized I was not made for cinema because I did not understand the medium. I was terrible on screen. I'd never seen a worse actor on screen, and I saw myself the first time. So I focused entirely on films, and so over a period of time you understand the medium, you're making movies, and I also learned from being a bad actor on screen how not to direct actors, how to extract best performances from them, which I started doing that. And people who saw me in theatre, I quit theatre in 2006, they've been wanting to cast me for the longest time. And then what happened was Bombay Velvet. And Bombay Velvet lost a lot of money. And I owed a lot of money to the studio that I did not have. And that studio was producing another film called Akira with Murugadoss. They say the money that you owe to the studio will write it off if you agree to act. That was the easiest transaction I've had in my life. So I agreed to act, and that debt was written off in exchange of my acting. So I was the highest paid unpaid debut actor.
Anurag, when did the narrative change that suddenly South became the aspirational cinema for the rest of the country?
It's always the money.
It's always the money.
It's always the money.
It's not the quality.
It's never nothing. For me, I'm a filmmaker at heart. So I'm right now, because I can't find it in Hindi, I'm searching. Maybe I'll find it in Tamil, maybe I'll find it in Karnataka, maybe I'll find it in Kerala. Somewhere somebody will understand the kind of films. I don't have a problem working backwards. I don't have a problem working on controlled costs. I don't have a problem working like that. But what is going on doesn't seem like films to me. And they're not rooted. The advantage with South films always is because, see, Hindi to India has become like English to the rest of the world, right? They think a movie in English has a bigger market. Similarly, they expected Hindi means whole India as a market, which is not true. Hindi releases are except the big star cast films, they don't much, my films have not released much in Kerala or Tamil Nadu or Andhra, barring Hyderabad or barring Chennai, right? So it's not like that. The regional language, the advantage with regional language is they know they're catering Tamil film is catering to people who speak and understand Tamil and who understand the culture. So the filmmakers, a person who spent his entire life in a village can also come and tell his story and be a filmmaker. And that's a lot of that is happening in regional languages. So stories are extremely rooted. Sometimes they come out and become a surprise. It's a recent phenomenon that Tamil is also started trying to compete with Telugu pan-India films. Because suddenly Tamil songs are in English. So I'm like, why? Who in Tamil cinema suddenly, they're all like some foreign rock band, everybody's singing in English, I'm coming for you, I'm gunning for you. I'm saying, this is not Tamil song. Tamil songs used to be like what we used to borrow in Hindi.
Yeah.
From Raja, from everybody, we used to borrow in Hindi. But now Tamil songs are like, don't make sense to me. And the thing is, it all becomes a formula because everybody's chasing that elusive 800 crore, 900 crore, 1000 crores. The figures keep going up. But there's one film that has crossed 1000 crores, one film that has made 900 crores. In the last 5 years, there must be like 4 to 5 films. That's it.
Yeah.
But we're making 1000 films a year.
Yeah.
We have seen a lot of usage of VFX in films, and recently I think usage of AI has also come in. Do you view that with some sort of sadness and anger as a authentic or a natural filmmaker, or do you feel this is going to democratize filmmaking in general?
The reason we did VFX was because there's some things were physically not possible for we as filmmakers to do. So we started doing visual effects. Like somebody had to jump on a running train. So we did visual effects. Or we did some effects of like, climbing down, not letting the audience feel that train was static at that moment, all those things. So visual effects that's why visual effects started off, and then it went to the next level when people wanted to create a spaceship or an aliens, things that were not physically possible. So they did a mixture of visual effects and prosthetics and design. Now the thing is, visual effects has taken on its own world now. Now people do visual effects even when not needed. They don't do visual effects because they want to achieve something. With visual effects, they think what all can be done more. And AI is being used. That world is very scary for me. I like to physically write my scripts and I like to physically make my movies. I like the process of filmmaking. AI is almost like you're sitting there and somebody gets your job done. And you learn nothing from it. And there's no growth, no personal growth, no emotional growth. Industry leans more towards profit. And there's nothing wrong with it. So they're doing what they want to do. And I'm doing what I want to do.
Let's talk work, the future of the workplace. Over to you, Navneet.
Thank you. So let's begin with some of the key factors that are influencing the future of work in the workplace. My question to you, Dr. Shravan, is the way we run our business also depends on what our corporate values are, what our ethics are, what our systems are. How are these evolving within corporations, and how can these values help companies navigate change?
I strongly believe that how we sell matters as much, if not more, than how much we sell. And you can't open a page of the business line this week or any week without reading about some corporate scandal that's unfolding. But this is not new. And I actually celebrate that because I think that's a sign of transparency. I think that's a sign that people are taking it seriously. I'm an independent board director in a listed company. I don't take that job lightly at all. My job doesn't end with joining the board and selecting a management team or celebrating a good quarter. If something is too good to be true, it probably is. And we need to figure out what went wrong and why. And to me, I think transparency is our best tool. And transparency breeds accountability in management systems.
Mr. Malik, we all know COVID has changed lives permanently. All of us struggle to manage remote work, office work. Each of us has a different approach to that. What are your thoughts on hybrid work and how would that evolve in the future?
I think we have been living in hybrid since the time BlackBerry came. because work has never stopped. It's never been that you work from 9 to 5 and then go back and do something else, right? Because once you have your emails on your hand, you've been kind of doing work in the office, and then you come back home and you start continuing to do that. But I think the definition became much more clearer after COVID came in. Having said that, there will be some jobs which may not become work from home. But there have been jobs which have always been work from anywhere. I think companies like ours is when we experience that actually you can, thanks to technology, thanks to Zoom, thanks to Teams, that actually work can happen. And it's come as a blessing in many ways, in terms of your work-life balance to some extent. Younger people, parenting, I think it gives them the flexibility. Cost comes down, you don't have to travel. From an org perspective, sometimes you feel if people are not meeting with each other, the whole role of collaboration, role of creativity, role of culture building, that can get impacted. But at the same time, policies have to evolve, and I think many policies for us, even legacy organization today, we find are best in class in terms of policies to make sure that work life can continue.
Mr. Suparna, your thoughts on organizational DEI and its role in future-proofing the workplace?
So right now, the words DEI trigger a lot of thoughts, a lot positive, maybe some negative. But I think generally what the underlying belief is that and it's really, if I say it from the point of view of organization, that is the organization tapping into the best talent for a particular thing? And because there are groups that don't have enough representation, and then therefore, it's a bit of a vicious cycle. So you can be left with actually not having access to a large part of the talent pool. And especially with respect to gender, I think women have a lot of, other things that are going on in their life stages, which are not accounted for when designing the workplace. Now, after the modern workplace has been there for maybe a century, and it's only in the last 10, 15 years that people are now trying to retrofit the design to also look after, needs of women as they have, different life stages, including maternity, etc. So I think fundamentally this needs to be designed from zero base, from first principles. And also accounting for the fact that parenting is not just mothering. I mean, there is a fathering angle which people in earlier generations did not think too much about. But I think it is very important that these then get built into the design of the organization, the design of the workday, the design of a career, which is kind of begging to be done.
Thank you.
I think you're getting some loud claps from some parents there for now.
I'm very happy that women are clapping, thank you, but I'm really happy some men are clapping. This cannot be done by women alone. Thank you.
Gentlemen, let's move across to the next session, which is the penultimate session of the Hindu Huddle 2025. It is a session which is titled Non-Communicable Diseases, Trojan Horse of Indian Health.
I'll start with you, Dr. Preeta Reddy. Apollo has been at the forefront, like I said, at the vanguard of NCD prevention, particularly for the last 40 years. Are there any signs that you see in the last decade or two that indicate this problem has been growing tremendously?
We have been talking about prevention, about screening and intervention consistently for the past 40 years. And I think your naming it the Trojan horse is probably very apt. And to me, the Trojan horse could be there. And the problems, the enemy is the way our lifestyles are. But what is worrying, and what is where we need to think about and interventions, which is possible, is mental health and obesity. And the stats on obesity we have that, between the age of 5 to 14, the incidence of obesity has gone up by 30%. Between 15 and 24, and these are youngsters, these are adolescents, a 48% increase in obesity.
So I think sometimes it's good for us to start with easy interventions, and I think this is easy. So this is what we are seeing from a private sector space, and our very clear agenda is to keep people out of hospitals, even though I represent hospitals.
Right. So I'll come to you, Dr. Anu. So what has really excited the world, I mean this is globally, whether you have diabetes or not, or whether you're obese or not, is the use of these GLP-1 inhibitors. So what is your position as a clinician?
There's a lot of write-ups in the media, and lots of celebrities have taken it, and that's how they become more and more popular. We have been using these drugs for 2 decades. Only thing is, there was some earlier generation of drugs. They did not have so much of weight loss. Now, current generation of drugs, they have tremendous weight loss potential. Now, there are problems with this kind of drugs also. So it's not so easy. It's not so easy that it's not a paracetamol, it's not aspirin. You go to the pharma shop and you say, give me this, and you pop up. No, it's nothing like that. Any of these patients, whether of obesity or diabetes, have to be screened properly who fits into these drugs. And we tell them about what is the potential weight loss, what are the problems, which patient cannot take it, and which patient can take it. And what is the expenditure? Now, expenditure, you think that this is something like a 50 rupees drug? It's not. And 1 month expenditure anywhere is 10 to 20,000 rupees. So these are expensive drugs, wonderful drugs for weight loss, up to 20% of the weight. So 100 kg person, 20% weight loss. So we are using very frequently Ramya. But if you ask me, is this something which will solve obesity problem in India? It is not. No, no way. Obesity problem in India is to be tackled by diet, exercise, proper knowledge, starting at school. And this is only for a segment of people who can afford it, who are terribly obese, who cannot do exercise, are non-compliant to diet. These are the drugs reserved for these people.
Right. Now, Dr. Chandrakant, as a consultant on the national health policy, can you tell us about some effective interventions from the state or in the private sector that have, shown some kind of difference in the Indian population?
In an environment and system where we stop taking medication which is required for 5 days, in a 2.5 days, how can we expect citizen and community to follow intervention that modify your diet, do regular physical activity, and take a certain medication? So that is one of the key challenges. We have to start a new approach, a new thinking, and that's what India National Health Policy, most recent one in 2017, talks about, that we have to redesign India's healthcare system, and both government and private sector, which is till at least a decade was focused upon curative and diagnostic. But in a newer setting, it requires preventive, promotive, curative, diagnostic, and rehabilitative approach. And final point here is that in a non-communicability, for example, if I'm having a common cold or then superimposed bacterial infection, I take antibiotic, I'll recover. But non-communicable disease, someone who is obese or who has a dyslipidemia, where lipid levels are deranged, it is very likely the entire family in that household would have something similar, because it is a common kitchen which is used for cooking food item. It's the same type of oil, same type of food habits which are followed. So if we have to tackle non-communicable disease, we need to work at multiple levels, and that's what India's National Health Policy already recognized. We need to work at individual level, we need to work at a family level, and for that we require a newer approach to healthcare system that has been indicated, but I know to put that into practice, it will take some more time.
What is your opinion on traditional medicine versus modern medicine in respect of diabetics and also coronavirus?
Well, it depends upon how you break that traditional medicine and traditional practices. If we talk about healthy diet, physical activity, they are part of the traditional practices. Traditional practices many of those are time tested and proven they are useful. As far as the word use of traditional medicine, I'm not an expert on that area, but what I broadly know through my work and research, that they are useful in a long-term preventive approaches. But when it comes to a curative approach, when it comes to treat a condition, the current science-based medicine is better approach in my opinion.
I totally agree with what Dr. Laharia said. You see, I have a great respect for our traditions and traditional medicine. But if you look at the plethora of things, then some of the things can very well fit in with the scientific principles. For example, yoga is coming up. Yoga has been proven also. To some extent, it does not surpass the aerobic physical activity, but it is there. It is somewhere there. It is being accepted now. So it is our traditional medicine. As far as dietary principles are concerned, I am all for frugal Indian ancient diets, which is part of our traditional medicine also.
I think, yeah, the point here is that we should not confuse the traditional practices and term them as medicine.
Right. Do you want to chime in?
No, I just feel of late that we can't really write off too much, and everything must be backed with clinical trials, with data. I think that is very important. It's a given. What may be a good thing to do is not to think about integrative medicine, which means you need the power of diagnostics, which now, healthcare providers, medicine, so-called medicine healthcare has. So having said that, I would say we will not write it off, but we will put it through the lens of clinical trials, of science, of data, and think of a situation where we can integrate both.
Thank you so much for being a part of this panel today, and I am sure we've had a very, very lovely discussion.
2 days, dozens of voices, one powerful purpose. Dialogue that doesn't just inform, but transforms. From day one's dive into war, geopolitics, cinema, education and equity, to day two's reflections on federalism, regional power dynamics, cinema clash, public health and future of work reimagined. The Hindu Huddle became more than a platform. It sparked a movement of minds. Until next season, keep thinking, keep questioning. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned only to Times Now. Sami Sabinsa Group presents the Hindu Huddle India in Dialogue, co-powered by Government of